Hello everybody and welcome back to F1 23 with me, Dan, and the Razor Slothz team as we immediately get underway with picking up that engine cover which failed very recently. Today we come to the crown of the F1 calendar. It's Monaco making a grand return to the channel after a very, very long leave of absence. And would you believe it, we're going to have to try and do it with no race in line either, which a few years ago would have been my absolute nightmare, but actually turns out to be not too bad as we come into quick practice now in anticipation of the race starting. Of course, you may have noticed I've already picked up everything in one of the sections already because I did go in and do some practice sessions on track because I'm not a complete idiot going straight into this in qualifying without actually doing any training beforehand. Not yet, anyway. We're going to have to give it a few more seasons before I'm that capable. But for now, we're going to go and do these practice sessions, which I've just noticed the time is missing from some of them, which I guess could cause problems. That's it for now. Over to R&D. We'll pick up this exhaust upgrade. Don't need it, but we're going to get it anyway. And then also drop down here to the ERS cooling, pick up another ERS upgrade. So we'll be back in the top of the power unit department. And look at this. This is a performance graph. We're in a little group here with Haas and Alpine. Haas, massive improvement as they came into Imola. But the top four remaining pretty much as they were. Well then, over to the Grand Prix de Monaco. For the first time, potentially since F1 22, it may have even been longer than that. A massive history of racing here on the channel. Before that, pretty much every single race that we did here ended up in a retirement by crashing into a barrier, or in one case several years ago, about 15 front wing changes. But anyway, to see this and future races, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell as well, so you know when all these races are uploaded. And you'll also get notified when I stream as well, which will happen 3 times a week from 7:30 GMT, Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. On to the starting grid then for Monaco. And on pole position, it's Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion there, alongside Carlos Sainz, once again having another good race in the Ferrari. Behind them, we have, eventually, George Russell and Charles Leclerc, Alex Albon and Sergio Perez, Pierre Gasly and Max Verstappen, Lando Norris and Kevin Magnussen into the top 10. Oscar Piastri and Radiant Slothz, Jack Doohan and Yuki Tsunoda, Valtteri Bottas and Lance Stroll, Logan Sargent and Nico Hülkenberg, Zhou Guanyu and Esteban Ocon, who picks up a penalty, followed by Théo Pourchaire and Nick De Vries. So not a bad qualifying actually for the first time coming here in a while, and we qualified just ahead of our teammate. Not able to get into the top 10 on that Q2 run though. We did manage it in Q1, but that doesn't count for anything when trying to get into Q3. But we'll see how we get on here, and well, based on how I know this race goes, we'll be adding it back to the calendar next year as well, and probably keeping it for some time because it's actually not too bad anymore. Everyone, go practice your Monacos. Right then, can Lewis Hamilton make it another victory here in Monaco, or will he be beaten by Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, or perhaps someone else? Is a bad start from Carlos Sainz though, but behind, we're going alongside our teammate, braking early there. We've actually lost a couple of positions into turn 1 as we don't want to go careering into the back of someone in Saint-Devote. Here we go up the hill then, alongside Yuki Tsunoda into Casino Square, trying to find a way past our teammate, banging wheels with the AlphaTauri as we snake around the streets of Monaco and dive down the inside of several cars, trying to get into the points here, getting past Kevin Magnussen. We're going to dive to the inside again here, into the hairpin. What can we do here as everything goes really quiet, since the game cannot handle the cars being that far away, apparently. Round we go then. Kevin Magnussen, the one-person stander between us and the points. Other than that, 27 laps of the street circuit to go. Once upon a time, I would have called that an absolute nightmare, especially with the assists package that we're using, consisting of nothing. Well, it was a struggle before when we did use assists to do this race, but you can see we're getting through quite nicely here. This was the start. Good getaway for Norris and Piastri there, but we were just kind of boxed in and had to brake early, allowing Tsunoda and Doohan to sneak around either side of us. But on the power, Doohan giving us the slipstream up the hill. It's getting a little bit tight here as we come up the hill, and we know the rest of this already. Tsunoda hits us, and we were able to keep it together up the inside. But we rejoin on lap 2. We're going to have another shot at Magnussen here in the same area of the track down the first hairpin. This time we've got the inside, and we are ahead of him as we bang wheels there with his front wing, and just about make it through without smashing the F123 logo off of the sponsor board. We are up into the points now after starting a few places back just a lap ago. This was Magnussen down the hill. We gave him a bit of room, but he was slightly squeezed out there by the barrier coming across, and we were so close to that barrier there on the outside that I am amazed that we got round it without smashing the whole wing off. But we continue on. Lando Norris up ahead of us. We know from earlier on he's on the medium tyre, so we may have some chances whilst the softs are working in a good window as we come down to the penultimate corner. Up the hill past the pit lane and onto the straight. One of the only places that you can actually overtake on this circuit. We are going to get DRS on the McLaren, and we're going to go to the right hand side as we come down towards turn 1. Up the inside we go, just about give him enough room against the barrier. Now it's a drag race up the hill, but we're already ahead as the medium tyre just does not provide the same levels of grip that this soft does at this stage of the Grand Prix. And it was a lonely 9 laps up to lap 12. Norris still behind us. We did gain on Verstappen for a little while, but as the tyres began to go off, we just had to back off again, and we'll come into the pit lane, followed in by Magnussen. Doohan's still holding 13th, but then again, it is a bit difficult to overtake here, so I would be a little bit disappointed if he wasn't still in 13th. New tyres on. Great pit stop there. And away we go once again. Where are we going to come out, though? There goes Teo Pourchaire. And it looks like we've got a little bit of gap to De Vries, but we might get out ahead of him here as we go up the hill. Just about come out in front of Nick De Vries in P15. Pretty much a few places behind where we started the Grand Prix. And now we continue on up into 12th now as we've overtaken a few pit stop cars, and we're behind Esteban Ocon, who did start right near the back. We set the fastest sector 2 there actually on this fresh set of rubber, but the goal is to try and get past some of the cars ahead of us, or at least close up to Verstappen. In come Joe and Ocon, and onto the pit straight we go. And Norris is going for hards, as is Verstappen here, so we might have a chance. There's Max Verstappen, the former world champion, on our inside as we come round to 1, and we get ahead of Verstappen, and that could be game over for him scoring any more points here, especially with how bad we are at allowing people past us. And around the final corner we go. Where can we move up to? There is Pierre Gasly coming out of the pit lane, and it's way behind us now as we get past him. Gasly will battle with Verstappen potentially. I think Verstappen has allowed him to have the place. And with everyone around us now on the hard tyre, it's just Albon is the next up the road. He's quite far ahead on the medium, and I believe the other cars up there are also running mediums, and that was how they were able to continue pulling away. But we follow Sergio Perez now, who is slowly but surely being reeled in by our mediums. His cold, hard tyres have just dropped him within a second now. And we'll chase him through the tunnel section down to the chicane. Not quite hugging the wall there as much as I would like, but with practice, we will get better here. Through we go along the harbour side into this chicane. Another fastest sector 2 into the next chicane here at the swimming pool section. And George Russell was setting a 1:12.995 there. Fastest lap, which will later be broken by Hamilton, and then once again broken by George Russell as they battle away. Mercedes now running 1-2 at the front of the field as we rejoin them on lap 23 as we weren't able to close up to Sergio Perez, unfortunately. Lewis Hamilton still holding his own at the front. Behind him, Carlos Sainz having another good race here. In with another chance of a podium as we come down the hill. Oh, but he's run wide and smashed his entire race chances! Carlos Sainz has absolutely binned it, and now he's causing a massive hold-up down the hill as we come down. The safety car is surely going to be deployed any second now as we come round. It looks as though Leclerc managed to get through, but Alex Albon stopped on circuit as we nearly rear-end him when we get past Carlos Sainz, or should I say we go through him as the safety car is deployed, and that is P5, and we've got an opportunity now to close back up to Perez and try and gain some more positions. This was Carlos Sainz down the hill, understeers into the barrier, and then just panics and floors it, driving like someone on F1 23 multiplayer. And that is his race over. Leclerc on board with him now as he comes down the hill. Ferrari end plate everywhere. And Carlos Sainz there in the way, then does his best to make sure his teammate doesn't get through. And Leclerc giving a slight nod to Albon there as Albon just crashes straight into him. So with Sainz and Albon disqualified, and we're now up to P5. Doohan nearly into the points again. So close yet so far for Jack Doohan. The safety car has come in, but can we get past Sergio Perez? Can we even get a podium here in Monaco for the first time ever as we come through turn 1? Up the hill we go. We've got 2 laps to sprint to the end. George Russell will be looking to improve on his race from Imola, where he scored nothing at all. He needs to get back to the top of the driver's standings, but he's not going to do that behind Lewis Hamilton. We come down the hill. This is a good opportunity here to try and plant it up the inside of the Red Bull, but we're still losing grip. These tyres are a good 10 or so laps old now, and we can't get alongside him there as we come down towards the tunnel. We are right behind that Red Bull now as we come blasting down towards the chicane. Nothing on Doohan just yet, trying to get past anyone. Down we go into the chicane. We're right on the gearbox of the Red Bull. The hard tyre may have more grip at this point, but it is still a slower tyre overall as we come flying through the swimming pool section. Through we go. Can we close up here into the final couple of corners? We are right there with Perez. Now we might be able to get him down the pit straight into turn 1. Through the final corner we go, and on to the final lap. Hamilton still holds the lead from Russell, Leclerc, Perez and Radiant Slothz as we come down towards turn 1. We weren't close enough to get past Perez, and now it's a drag race up the hill to see if we can get him down towards the hairpins, but we can't be too far back if we want to try and pull that manoeuvre off. Round we go then. Down the hill we go towards the hairpins, following Perez. We can't get him at the first one. We're not close enough. Can we get him here? I don't think so. We're sliding down the hill there. We nearly rear-ended him. In fact, I think we did make contact there with his diffuser as we just locked up down the hill with 0 grip left. Round the bottom of the hill and across the harbour we go, starting in the tunnel section. We've got a braking zone coming up. We might be able to get past him here if we're brave, but not quite. Continuing to come through now up towards the swimming pool section. There's not going to be a chance here. Only into the final couple of corners. We're so close to the Red Bull now. It's just fractions of a millimetre between us as we come flying through the swimming pool section. We crash into the barrier there, losing the front wing as we push so hard to try and close up to the Red Bull. But that's going to be it for us. We're going to have to pay out a little bit of money for that damage. But we come round across the line into the points here in Monaco for the first time, potentially ever, on the channel. And P5 with no traction control, no racing line, and we get driver of the day. I mean, that is a fantastic result for us compared to years gone by. But Lewis Hamilton draws level with his teammate on wins this season. 2 to Russell, 2 to Hamilton, and now 1 to Leclerc as well after Imola. So the championship is hotting up, but Russell is still ahead by some margin after Hamilton had some poor results early on in the season, but Russell equally not doing too well either. So it's all wide open still. Perez, of course, was leading prior to this race as well, so you're going to watch out for him too. as well as the 2 Ferraris. So let's have a look at those drivers' standings and race results. So Hamilton picked up the win, but George Russell picked up the fastest lap, improving on his personal best from earlier on. Charles Leclerc rounds out the podium. They were followed by Sergio Perez, Radiant Slothz, Pierre Gasly, Max Verstappen, Kevin Magnussen, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri rounding out the top 10. Over to the drivers' standings, George Russell retakes his place at the top of the table once again, but he's joined now in with second place Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez tied on 75, and 3 points behind them we have Charles Leclerc in 4th. Then it's a jump back to a joint P5 for Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, followed by Radiant Slothz, Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon rounding out the top 10. Further down the order we have Lance Stroll, joint 12th, Kevin Magnussen and Lando Norris, then Oscar Piastri, Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu rounded up the point scorers. They're followed by Jack Doohan, Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hulkenberg, Teo Pourchaire, Logan Sargent and Nick De Vries. And finally over to the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes are currently winning the three-way fight for first, 20 points ahead of second place Red Bull. Then shortly behind them we have Ferrari, and a big leap back then to Razor Slothtech, Aston Martin, Alpine, McLaren, Haas, Alfa Romeo, and then finally Alpha Tauri and Williams. And that's all for this race. We'll catch you next time in Austria.